People are looking for something real. God is looking for someone real. Be Real. Live from the Be Real Lounge. You're with us in the lounge. Your hosts, Daniel Lewis and Brother Brad Haynes. How y'all doing? How you doing?
Good morning, man. How you doing?
How you doing?
How y'all doing?
How y'all doing? Doing good this morning.
I am too, man. The birds are doing good out there. They're singing like crazy, man.
They're doing real good, apparently, because they're just all about.
They're letting it fly. It's really pretty cool to hear them, man.
Yeah.
Especially when they're this vocal.
And it's nice to hear a creature actually just, enjoying life.
It is, isn't it?
Just living for the moment.
Yeah.
I don't know if they remember yesterday. I doubt it.
Right.
They're probably not thinking about tomorrow.
Yeah.
They're just doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
And then just being who they are and what they were created to be, instead of worrying about all this other junk.
It's very true, man.
Yeah.
Jesus talks about the birds a lot. And
yeah.
I think they're just happy they got seed there. They don't have to go out and look all day for seed, man. They can just hit a bunch of it.
They just
right
work
there.
at it and build their nests and everything. It's all supplied. The material's supplied. They just have to put it together.
Yeah.
And that's what we have. It's all supplied. We just have to put it together. Have to have that effort.
I agree with you, man. You reminded me of the bird nest thing.
Yeah.
We had a little brown thrasher, man, that built a nest, in one of the window sills there.
Yeah.
They do. A lot of times we leave them just whatever. But I don't know if it's, I think the men actually build the nest or they do it together. I'm not sure. I'd have to research it, but it's pretty cool because they find the nest together. Like the man will be like, hey, over here. And then you'll hear them talking and they'll be going all crazy looking at this spot, looking at others. And then all of a sudden they'll start building,
Yeah.
But we watched her, man. She was sitting in there. She had the tiniest little eggs, man. They're the littlest bird eggs you could ever imagine, man.
Really?
Like smaller than a pea.
Wow.
And they're like speckled. And she sat on them. I think she had 6 or something in there. And then I guess something happened one night, man. I've heard that other birds will run them off and eat the stuff.
Too.
I didn't see any sign of a snake that had come in there, but had eaten her eggs, man. And she flew the coop. But then we saw them, man, starting to build right again on the other side. They don't give up. They just, if something bad happens, they just
keep moving forward,
roll with it.
Yeah.
And, I thought I could probably learn a lot from that. Sometimes we want to, there's a tear in my beer, and they just get on with it.
There's a tear in my beer and I'm crying for a year or more.
Yeah. They just do what they got to do. So.
Yeah. That's it.
Anyway, man, cute little birds.
They've really accepted life. We break it down so much, but
yeah.
And we were designed to do that, but with the help of God, and staying in His Word and knowing the truth and reality of things, that this is not the end.
That's right,
and that there's eternity is way more.
Yeah,
way more.
That's right.
It's kind of weird because I've been looking at death here lately and just kind of thinking about it. We really started thinking about it last night. Me and my son just he didn't say much about it, but I just kind of looked at him and. We were watching this thing and it was talking about death or whatever, and I just kind of paused it and just wanted to ask him if he'd ever thought about it before, because it's just weird that everything that we know of here, it's almost like we're watching a movie,
right?
Or we're actually living in a movie, and it ends.
Yeah.
And it's just really weird that it's just, I've thought about it even in the past before I got to know the Lord. And since I've got to know the Lord, now I know the truth of it. And so, not going to sit here and lie and say I'm not weary of dying.
Right.
It's still the thought of the unknown, which I do know a lot about what happens after death through the Bible, through His Word. But still, there is that mystery. I mean, He doesn't reveal everything. Not everything that my human mind is inquisitive about. What's it actually going to be? What's it actually going to look like? What actual form am I going to be in? And so it's just it's a really weird thing to sit down and comprehend. I think when you think about it, we fill our lives so much full of stuff that we try to keep our minds from actually thinking about it.
Sure.
But then when it does happen to a friend of ours or a family member, especially somebody young, that's when we start realizing how fragile life is, really, and how short it could be.
Yeah.
And just everything that we know is just, I mean, friends, family, mom, dad, brothers, sisters, work, our homes, everything that we work and strive and so much try to keep together, and the relationships that we build is just completely, it's gone.
Yeah.
Not saying it's meaningless, but it's just definitely, it's gone, and you're moving on to a different thing there.
And dude, I want to get back to, I want you to talk about you and your son talking about it.
Yeah, that's pretty much what we discussed.
Well, I mean, I want to dig into it a little deeper, but that just made me think that, seriously, man, until you've actually experienced the death of someone that is in your daily life, like I'm talking every day, like a part of your life, you really don't understand the magnitude of it. Because when my mom died, I read A Grief Observed by C.S. Lewis, which is an awesome one for anybody going through that thing. C.S. Lewis, Christian dude. He was an atheist.
What was the name of the?
A Grief Observed.
Okay, just want to make sure somebody hear that would catch it.
And I mean, he makes a good point. And if we were real honest, we don't want to hear this at first. I didn't, but when I sat with it, I knew that it was true. The reason why death is so bad for us when we lose somebody that we love that's a part of our life is because it messes up our life. Like, we don't have them, like the whole fabric of our life has changed, what we do every day, what we expect. So it's not so much you can believe that they're going to be in heaven at resurrection day, and you can believe that, but it doesn't fix your life right then.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's the biggest, we're selfish creatures, man. And we haven't looked at the right form of death, and we want to hold on to that. And then we feel bitter that God let us down, that he's messed up our life. Even if we do care about the other person, I mean, and wish that they wouldn't have died, if we're really honest, it's more about us.
Yeah.
And, you know, that was a pretty powerful point that he made there, you know, that made me think.
Yeah, I've never really thought about that before, and I've thought about the selfishness before, and when I went through the death of my grandma, my Mima.
Yeah.
Just from the year before, she had went through a very serious surgery, and it was constant prayer for her, and it was just me actually being selfish of her staying here. And she recovered from that, but she never fully recovered from that, and so she spent another year here, and it was just it was never the same. And I realized that as I went through the year, that it was me being selfish and not wanting to let her go, even though she told me time and time again that she was ready, and I knew she was.
Sure. But
it was still, you know, as she was going through that, I was like, Lord, don't take her away from me. I still need my Mima here. And it was kind of a torturous thing. And when she come back, it was just more rough on her for that last year, and it just really was spiraling downhill until she passed away. And still got to spend some good times with her within that year, and I'm so grateful. But at the time, and I even confessed this to her, you know, I told her that, I mean, it was just, you know, I had prayed, I mean, like crying, screaming, crying, you know, please don't take her away. And it was just my selfishness, and when I should have just kind of went, your will, let it go, and she wouldn't have had to suffer that last year, you know, still being here. And so,
but not that's a normal thing if you love someone. So,
it is. And I learned a lot from that. Yeah, I learned a lot from that. And then me and her speaking about that, I learned a lot about that. And she understood where I was coming from, and she was, you know, okay with it, but she understood. I mean, it was kind of an odd thing. You don't talk about that with people,
right?
You know, especially with somebody that's, you know that they're going to pass away and they're not in good health and stuff like that. I've never had that discussion with anybody before, and I was so grateful that she was on the same page as me with loving the Lord. We knew the Bible, we knew Scripture, And so we accepted this as what's going to happen, and we'll see each other later. Whether we remember each other or not, we know where we're both going, and it's going to be with the Lord, and that we were okay with that. And, you just don't have that conversation with people.
I agree.
Me and you have conversations, but we're, as far as I know, which could happen today, but as far as we know, we're going to be living for a while. But if you know somebody's in bad health and it's going to happen, and you both know that it's going to happen, especially somebody that you've known your whole life, and you have that conversation, it's just a weird, it's kind of it's a really odd thing, and it's a special thing, and it's a once in a lifetime thing. I don't see that happening. That could happen again with somebody, but me and her had a really close relationship. And what made us closer was Jesus.
Yeah.
It wasn't necessarily that she was my grandma. Of course, that made us extremely close, but it was that relationship with she was also my sister in Christ. And I could say things just like I say with you, just like I say here on Be Real, that just kind of maybe makes somebody turn this thing off, or steps on their toes, or what is he talking about? I got to look in the book, and this doesn't sound Christian. I got to read more about this. What is Daniel talking about, or what is Brad talking about? I could say stuff to her just like I do you, that you go, yeah, man, I see that in the book. I see that in the Word. And she would be the same way. I know what you're saying. I don't say anything against that, because that's what the Word says. Even though we're both struggling with it. Because we struggle. We're not just sitting here preaching like we're,
Everyone does. It's just...
Yeah, I think I really struggle.
Will you admit it or not?
Super struggling going on,
And dude, I think that like when you go through it personally like that with someone so close, it makes you actually look at it in a way that you never have. You can keep it at a distance, like your walk with Jesus, if you don't. I've lost friends, and stuff that weren't a part of my life at the time, and it hurts, but you don't see them all the time, so you're just, it's not the same, man.
Yeah, they're not in the house, same house.
When that happens and you're really connected with them like that, it's gonna turn your world upside down, and you're gonna have to put all the pieces back together. And then you have to look at death for yourself. And that probably until that happens, most of us will never sit down and reckon our own life with death until it happens like that. Trust me, when it does, you will.
It's a flood of emotions.
Whether you want to or not.
You're thinking about everything. Not only does like you said, the selfishness come in, which that's kind of in the background. It's there, but we don't really put that to the forefront like I'm being selfish. We just want it to stay there. But there's also all that stuff of a God, and if you don't have that relationship with Him that you should, or even if you don't have no relationship with Him, that is always brought to the forefront. At some point of where did they go, and I need to look more into this, and thinking about your own mortality and stuff like that. The only reason I even know of that is because of when I didn't know the Lord. Both my grandparents, my grandpas passed away, and I had a really good friend of mine pass away at a young age, and he's 3 years older than me, and I think he was 20. I was 20, he was 23. And those points in my life were really the only time I actually thought about God. The rest of the time, I think if I even thought about God in my 20s was cursing Him, somebody I didn't even know for no reason whatsoever, just because I was an ignorant idiot. But the other time, when I was going through the death of those three people is when I really started thinking about, what is after death? Is the Bible actually true? I knew nothing of the Bible as far as what it said. I knew the Bible as far as it was a book, but I didn't know what it actually was, and that it was a living thing written by God through men for us. And so and I never did get into the Bible to find the answers for myself. We didn't have YouTube at the time, but we did have streaming audio, and I was just in books, and so I go look into what man said about death, and I would find comfort in the words of their interpretation of the Bible, and it still screwed me up. And I never did fully comprehend or have the peace about death until I got into the Word, actually had Him come into my life. And of course, the Holy Spirit teaches us, and as you're reading the Word, it's just it's a completion of everything. It's a completion. It makes the cycle. It's like you're breathing in air and you're also exhaling air. And so when you're reading the Word and you have Him in your life, it's that completion of that cycle. It's the inhaling of the Word, and it shows in your life. And you have that peace, and you have the hope, and you have the love, and you have all this stuff that not only corresponds with death, but it goes with everything in your life. But when it comes to that death part, that's when you really need the peace in your life. And if you don't have that, if you're not in the Word and you don't have Christ, you really do struggle. It's a hardcore, not saying it ain't a struggle with Him, but it's a hardcore, kind of a lost struggle without Him. And I went through that for 3 times, and it was just it was a mess. I don't want to go through that no more. The only time I really struggle now is if somebody I know passes away and I'm not sure if they knew Christ. And so I don't really struggle with my own mortality as I have, but I struggle with what's going to happen to them on Resurrection Day. And I hate to have lost that soul, and could I have done something different? Could I have pissed them off to make them look into the gospel, or could I have loved them more to make them look into the gospel?
Right.
I mean, it's kind of like,
man, isn't it baffling how we just create our own belief system that's not based on anything true?
Mm-hmm.
And we
that's it.
Like, until you give over to accepting a real truth, like the sun is shining, dude, it's scary how we just make up this junk.
Yeah.
I mean, just make up anything.
Just make it up.
You want to believe, and then you say why, and you really don't have a reason why, except it just suits the way you want to live.
Yeah.
Dude, that is, I did that for a long time, and when I saw the Bible, it scared me, and I saw what truth really was, and then you either have to accept it or walk away from it.
It's something to hold on to. Truth is something that you can actually feel, you can grab, and you can hold on to. You're not reaching out like if you're going across monkey bars, and if you let go, it's like a 60-foot drop, 100-foot drop, endless drop. You're actually reaching out, and you can hold on to this truth. And if you're just believing whatever somebody throws out there, that's blind. That's called blind faith. That's blind faith, and you're reaching out for a monkey bar that's not there. And I'm telling you, when it's time to hang from that monkey bar, that one bar that's not there, you're going to fall. Because truth is there, and it's solid. And I'm telling you what, not only can you hold on to it, but it'll put something under your feet to where you won't fall. And if you do fall, you're not going to go far.
That's the main point of everything we're saying, man, is to acknowledge that there is a truth. If there's one thing that my life can stand for, is to tell people that there is a truth, and if you seek it, you will find it, and we will be united in it. But man, I don't want to go into it because we already have, but we live in a world that doesn't accept that. It's just whatever truth you want to make up is okay. Mm-hmm. And if you challenge anyone on that, they get upset, and it's all because it's like a house of cards, man. It's just waiting to fall down because there isn't anything true. And that's the main thing, man. Just seek truth, and you will find Jesus, because He's that truth. Yeah. But we live in a world that just says there is no truth, and you just make it up, and it drives me insane.
It is. It's like looking at if you had a box full of ants, and you just shook the box, and these ants are just running all over the place trying to escape the box. I can just only imagine what people look like. We're all just running into each other. Yeah. It's total chaos. You can just turn on the TV. Go ahead, turn it on right now. Turn us off and go turn on the news channel and just look at the chaos. Mm-hmm. It's the evidence of just people just lost. And they're running into each other, and they're just doing all this stuff, and there's just constantly just bull just going on all the time. What more evidence do you need? I mean, it's total chaos all the stinking time. And the only time that we ever feel comfort is blocking that stuff off, being in our little hut somewhere at a house that we've built from working, and that we didn't actually build, that we bought with our money and probably still paying for the next 30 years. Right. And just sitting there in our little hut with the TV off going, I'm at peace, knowing that there's chaos all around us. Yeah. But yet we want to say that there's no God, there's no hope, there's no peace, there's no real truth that we can hold on to. We just want to believe what all these other people are believing, and they're running around in circles, running into each other, and it's total chaos.
Well, man, we've made this point before, but I think it needs to be made again. We haven't made it much, but if there's no God, then there can't be morality. There would be no reason for you to do it. Like, I mean, if there is no God, and this is just it,
Yeah.
then how could it be wrong to kill someone or to be in war? Animals kill each other. So if we're animals, we all know it's wrong.
Yeah.
That's because God wrote that on our heart. If there is no God, and there would be no reason for any kind of morality, and you say, well, we just get along better. No, we really don't. I mean, if the strong are to dominate the weak, and that's what evolution is about, and that's what we were made, then we're devolving if the strong does not dominate the weak. So we all know that that's not right. We all know that if a kid's walking down the street with a pizza and a bigger guy sees the pizza and goes and smashes the kid, just pops him right in the face, knocks him out, takes his pizza. Every human being on the planet knows in their heart that that's wrong.
Yeah.
If there is no God and everything is about evolution and we're just evolving, the strong is evolving, that's a great thing.
Yeah.
I mean, if that is true, that there's no God, then what Hitler did was not wrong.
God.
He was one of the smartest, strongest men, and he was evolving like a water buffalo, right?
Yeah.
Or a crocodile. But we all know it's wrong. We know it's wrong.
Extremely wrong.
You feel it's wrong. Well, then you have to accept that morality comes from God. There is a truth. There is a right. There is a wrong. It's written on your heart. And you can't earn your way to him. And that rules out every other religion but Jesus, because all those are about you, self-help plan, get your life in order, and then God will like you.
Yeah.
You know,
God
so
will
it's
like
wild. But dude, did Austin, was he engaged in that conversation about that? Did he,
not
dialogue
really.
with you? Or
Nah, he just kind of, he'd said he thought about it a couple of times in his life, and he just kind of went on about whatever he was doing,
Right.
But I just wanted to kind of present that every once in a while, kind of throw some stuff out, and just to get him to think, because
Cool.
I know how life is, especially when you're a teenager. You got all this other stuff going on, and you really don't want to think about that.
is he done with school now?
Almost.
Cool.
Yeah.
Couple more days.
Couple more days, and so
I bet he's looking forward to that. Isn't he?
yeah, just lounging around,
Cool.
mowing the yard every once in a while.
Nice. Well, dude, can we launch into something else that I got passionate about that
For real.
segues onto truth stuff, and me
Why
and you
not?
can break it down? Because, okay, we've said there's no truth, and there's a big, strong allegory here, man, back to the food stuff. We've all sit there and said, well, I don't know if eating this stuff will, is bad for me. And we look around and we see the results of what it is. So there is a truth. I mean, if you eat bad stuff, you're going to get fat. That's a truth, right?
Yeah.
But we all act like, well, I'm not going to look at that. I'm comparing myself with everyone else, just like we do with the word. Compare ourselves with everyone. Nobody else is taking it in. I look like everybody else.
It's like several other things. I've been sitting there trying to think about what else it could be compared to, but since it's not immediate, we don't, where we live in a culture in America that where everything has got to be now. And so when you eat bad, it's not immediate. It's kind of over time, and you see yourself and others see you, and so you don't really, unless somebody just goes and fluffs right up.
Sure.
Boom, boom, boom. You don't really see the change in nobody, and if you don't see somebody for a while and then you see them, you notice the change.
Yeah.
But a day-to-day seeing somebody, you really don't notice. Even if they're losing weight, you kind of don't really notice, unless it's a drastic change in weight through disease, or they're doing something or something like that. It's just come off really quick. But I think it's just almost like smoking. You're killing yourself. I mean, you're inhaling this smoke into your lungs, but you don't really, it's not an immediate death.
Sure.
It's over time that if you continue to do this is what's going to cause your death.
I think the point, man,
Lead up to something
that I was
does.
making before we got into this, that I think is the strong point, is this is the main point of, I'm not just picking on you're overeating or I'm overeating or anything like this. What I'm trying to say is the Bible says that that's a sin. And we wonder why we have health problems and stuff from all this. And the reason why is because he said, don't be gluttonous. Okay, if we're overweight, We're being gluttonous. Look, I was gluttonous. That got me into the position where I was 20 or 30 pounds over the weight that I should have been.
Yeah.
Still look better than most people. And if I compare myself to them, hey, I would have just kept on gaining. But I knew something was wrong, and you got to work hard to get it back in line. It takes a couple years to get out of sorts, and it'll take a good while to get back into sorts, but you have to change your life to do it. But this is a problem, man. In the Word, and this is going to offend a lot of people. So, I mean, if you're easily offended, just tune this out or get ready to get offended or whatever.
It all goes back to self-control.
Sin is sin, right?
Mm-hmm.
So does the Bible, and I'm not asking this necessarily to you, putting you on a quiz show, does the Bible say gluttony is a sin?
Oh, yeah.
No doubt, right?
No doubt, yeah.
It's, okay, so gluttony is no different in God's eyes than homosexuality,
Yep.
than drunkenness,
Yep.
than sexual debauchery, than anger towards your brother.
The Bible has a lot to say about
greed,
the body.
What I'm saying is we have to see it that way.
Yeah.
And see that we're fallen. I said this, most people that are honorary so-called Christians are the heaviest people on the planet. And they're sitting here throwing stones at everyone else's sin while they can't fit through a door. And what I'm saying is we have to put it all in the same place. And if we do, then we can start fighting against it. But if we accept that, and I want to talk about the awesome Bible verse in the story that shows what this is. But I watched that documentary, Sugar Coated. I've always known that. But y'all check that out and look into, we've been lied to, just like with everything else. They lied to you and me when we were kids, starting in the 70s, about the food pyramid and what was good for us, just like the organized church has done with the Bible. They've made the Bible a curriculum instead of a whole food. So they split it up in a food pyramid and said, you need to take in these verses at the top, make sure you have 4 servings a day. And it's a lie. Most of those foods are not good for you at all.
I read a chapter a day.
And well, I got a plan to get through the Bible in a year or something. Yippee-ki-yay. That we've been lied to. Look into it. How do I know? Look at people. Walk around in a mall. Do you think that we're healthy as a nation? Do you think that the food that they're telling you is okay to eat is okay to eat? By the results of the fruit?
They're making money. Why would we even believe them? You know what I'm saying?
Well, it's all about money, Daniel.
It is.
And we're going to just keep plumping up like Jabba the Hutt until, this is the thing, man. I watched another one where they were kind of trying to blame the system and make new laws telling the corporations that they couldn't lie to us anymore. This is my thing. They're always going to have a dirty politician that's going to pull some chain. To look at the history of it. Watch these things and you see that that's the truth. What the deal is just like the Word. This is what drives me insane, is that people want to try and change the system so then they can blame the system. Right now people are blaming it. I'm fat because they lied to me and they told me sugar was okay and it's not. Look, do you have a brain? Do I have a brain? We have to make our own decisions. It's not the government's job to legislate what I can eat. I need to be smart enough to eat good food myself. This is the thing. If me and you didn't eat this crap, they couldn't sell it. It's our fault.
They wouldn't sell it because they wouldn't make no money.
They're only doing it because, now I know that we've been brainwashed through media and lies through the government to think that this food is okay.
Oh man, look at the commercials.
But it's not their fault. If you can't see a lie from the truth, it's your fault, and you're the one that has to take responsibility.
Just like the Word.
Just like the Word, Daniel. And it's what drives me insane. You can't blame the church for not giving you the Word and lying to you. You need to know they're lying to you and get out of there and get a whole food. If you can't see that eating this stuff is bad for you and you change it in your own life, it's your fault. It's my fault. If I'm the only one that's eating this food. So nobody forcing me to eat anything.
The days of the Old Testament are over. Correct?
Correct, my friend.
And so God is not wanting to have a relationship with you through another man,
No.
correct?
Correct.
And so why did he send Jesus Christ?
To bridge the gap, man.
And then after Jesus ascended into heaven, even Jesus' own word said, shall bring you a comforter that shall be in you.
The Holy Spirit.
So God can have a relationship with you.
That's right.
Not with another man
And
through
direct you what the truth is, and then you obey it.
Exactly.
And this
we're still relying on prophets.
I know.
We're going back. We're living in the Old Testament times.
We are. It's.
We still want to go to the temple and worship.
It's perilous.
We still want to pay the tithes so they get their money.
Yeah.
They still have jobs. We still have Levites. It's just.
We
still have feasts.
We don't want to do it ourselves. We don't want to change our lifestyle.
So much easier.
It's like this. We don't want to really change our lifestyle. We want to pay a fitness coach to tell us what to eat, to get us on the plan, and then we lose 20 pounds and then go back to our lifestyle, and we're worse off than we were to begin with. Yeah. You can do it yourself. You don't have to pay somebody to write out a diet plan for you. Once again, do you have a brain? You can do this yourself. You have everything you need. And the problem with the world is that no one will do anything themselves. They're trying to change a system, so then the system will change them.
It's so much easier, though, Brad. It's so much easier just laid back in that recliner with the remote and watching TV and just pay everybody else to do everything for you.
But you feel
living high on the hog.
But you feel like a loser doing it.
It's going to wind up
being
a bad situation.
Here
and next. Here and next.
How do I know that everyone knows? Because it's written on their hearts.
Yeah.
He said no longer in the new covenant does a man have to tell his neighbor, know God.
That's right.
He doesn't need us to evangelize because every man knows about Jesus. Why? Because it's written on your heart, man. That little tug when you get annoyed, you say, Jesus. He's written right there. You know it's true. When I said that thing about the you know it's true. You know that if we were just evolving, that it ain't no problem to go and smack someone in the face. What's wrong with that? Well, because Jesus.
And you know,
and this is the greatest story in the world, man. Let's just paraphrase and talk about Daniel. I'm not going to read it, but y'all read Daniel 1. If y'all check out Daniel 1, what was the deal with that? Daniel and his 3 guys got taken into captivity in Babylonia, right?
Yeah.
By Nebuchadnezzar.
The Lord let Jerusalem was just totally turn their backs on the Lord. Israel turned their backs on the Lord. So, like always, He allowed somebody to come in and take it over.
And He had prophesied for
man gets what man wants.
Time that was going to happen.
Man, He was constantly sending people in there. This is going to happen.
So,
this is going to happen.
So at Daniel, we see that it does. Daniel's a prophet. He's got these dudes with him, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They have different names, but that becomes their names. Nebuchadnezzar changes all their names. Anyway, gives them Babylonian names. But this is the cool thing. They get taken into custody. And the king ordered, Ashpenaz was like the minister of, like, say he's like a minister of defense or minister of this. He's working for the government in the top cabinet to make everything happen in the Babylonian Empire, which is probably as organized as America, if not more. It's pretty intense stuff. We think we're all like high level. They had a lot of high level stuff. So the king tells Ashpenaz, Nebuchadnezzar tells Ashpenaz, which is the chief of his court officials, to bring in some of the Israelites from the royal family and nobility, young men without any physical defect, handsome, showing aptitude for every kind of learning, well-informed, quick to understand, and qualified to serve in the king's palace. He was to teach them the language and literature of the Babylonians, and then the king assigned them a daily amount of food and wine from the king's table. They were to be trained for 3 years, and after that, they'd enter the king's service. So, I mean, he's taking them. That this is what a lot of the cultures did. They would take the best and then make them theirs.
Yeah.
And that's what he's doing. He sees promise in them. He's like, let's school them, let's teach them. They'll be with us. So this is the kicker.
Realizing that these guys were followers of God.
That's right. So he does this, and he takes them in there. And this is an important thing, which I think is an important point. Daniel doesn't say, no, I'm not going to learn your literature. I refuse to do it or anything like that. That wasn't against his Mosaic law to do that. Once again, you don't have to be ignorant. We can learn about other cultures. We can learn about other things.
Yeah.
Doesn't change us, doesn't make us non-Christian. Just, I don't want to hear about anything. Look, learn the literature.
That's it.
Learn, but don't defile yourself in the ways of the world.
Exactly, yeah.
And you see that here. And what the deal was he had told them all that he was going to eat this royal food. But Daniel resolved not to defile himself with the royal food and wine, and he asked the chief official for permission not to defile himself. He said, basically he told the guy, he's like, man, I'm a vegetarian. That's my Mosaic law. I'm not going to eat anything that's unclean. And this food is unclean. It's from the king's table. It's not good food. I'm supposed to drink water and eat vegetables, whole food, plant diet. That's what I'm supposed to do, and I'm not going to do this. Yep. So he drew the line right there. And that's the line we have to draw in the world. We have to draw it with food, with every sin. We have to know what God's commands are.
We're not going to eat this crap that they're feeding us.
Yes.
We have to follow God.
That's food and the word.
Yeah.
Like you can't eat junk food, Jesus, that the world is feeding you. And you can't eat junk food. You can't eat sugar. You got to go to the source.
Yes. To the source. All this processed stuff is not source.
It's not real food. And they had it back then.
Just like the word. I mean, you going to listening to somebody else telling you about it, that's not the source. And the word is the source. And we all have access to it. There's no excuse.
Let thy food be thy medicine. God has given us this food to feed us and to fight disease. There's all kind of cases out there. People have horrible disease. They get to Daniel's diet right here, and the disease goes away. Mm-hmm. But see, that doesn't make any money for anybody.
Nope.
They're making.
We can do it on our own.
Our culture is living off people being sick and fat and diseased.
If there's $1 to be made, they're gonna do it.
I'm telling you, you can take this into your own hands. Out of all the stuff,
that's either scaring the junk out of you so you fill a pew and put your money in the plate, or that's buying the hamburger at the drive-thru because it's easy, it's lazy, it's quick. I can get it, I can go down the road and I can eat it, and I feel fine.
But you know it isn't right.
But you know in your heart that it's not right. You're not right with your body. You're not right with God.
You're not, Daniel.
And it's going to lead to destruction here and there.
And remember, all this is analogy. All this ties into the same word and food. It's all, there's one that's concrete and one that's abstract, but they're saying the same thing. This is my thing. If you've tried everything and you got bad health and you've gone to 1 million doctors and you're taking a bunch of pills, why wouldn't you try to change your lifestyle? Like, why wouldn't you try it? Like, you would rather do all that stuff instead of the thing that actually works. I mean, watch this sugar-coated thing. You and watch Plant Nation and Forks and Knives. There's some really good food stuff that says exactly what Daniel's saying, which is it's your fault. I mean, he's given us everything we need, but we can't eat food from the king's table.
Ain't it just common sense that you would eat stuff that grows?
It is, but nobody wants to eat it.
Instead of, waiting for somebody else to grow it out of the ground in multi-millions of pounds and then process the junk out of it, make something totally to where it don't even look like what it's supposed to, put it in a bag, ship it to a store, and throw it in a freezer to where it sits for who knows how long before it even gets to the freezer in the store, and then you go buy it, and then you throw it in a microwave that heats it from the inside out using waves of electricity, and then you eat it. And then you wonder why. And I've got problems.
There's no food value. And this is the thing, Daniel. Nobody will eat whole foods. They won't. This garden food, you can't get people to buy it or to even cook it if you give it to them. They just tell me they don't know what to do with it. They won't do anything with it. They'd rather just go and eat a Lunchable. I mean, it's insane, brother.
I just don't like the taste of lettuce. I got to have ranch on it.
It's because, I got to the point, man, where I refuse to sell it. I'd be like, if they wanted to buy my lettuce, it's like, I'm like the soup Nazi. I'm like, what kind of dressing do you plan to put on this? And ranch, I'm like, I can't sell it to you. I can't.
You are the lettuce
You know,
Nazi, the garden Nazi.
because you're destroying it.
Yeah.
You're destroying it. But man, people just like the word. They don't have a taste for it. They have a taste for sugar puffs and cheese doodles and all this stuff. So it's like if you give them the real word, it's like, ooh, that's like eating bok choy.
Yeah.
I don't want that. Give me the cream
I
puff.
don't want the real word. I just want somebody to lighten it down and cotton candy it for me.
But if
I want to feel good when I leave the building.
Exactly. But you're going to crash down because you haven't had a whole food. Sometimes this kale is so dense that I'm eating, my jaws hurt from chewing it. I mean, that's the same with the word. I mean, it's like, oh my gosh, this is so dense. It don't go down like cotton candy, but man, you feel good afterwards.
It changes you. It changes you.
Well, you got
to the form that you should be. It changes you to the form that you should be.
That's right.
And I'm not sitting here. We're not sitting here preaching, which we are. We're sitting here preaching about eating whole foods, and you need to get stuck on this stuff. But what we're preaching is, just like you said, it's a parallel to the Word.
It is. And look, read Daniel 1-2. Read it. It says this.
And it all goes down to what we've talked about before. It's they're feeding us. Who are you eating it from? Because we got all this stuff getting fed to us, and we get to choose. We have a choice. We have a will, Brad.
That's right.
We have a will. And our will gets to choose who we're eating from. We can eat from the direct source, which is God. It's His Word.
Just pick
it's
it.
His. He created this earth for us for 6 days, man.
Yeah.
For 5 days, He had all this stuff coming. He built this aquarium for us. Put everything in it just for us, for those creatures on that 6th day. The last creatures that were made on the 6th day were us.
Yeah.
And we fit right into all that stuff. We needed all this stuff.
He gave us a planet of whole foods.
He did.
To
Full
sustain
of it.
us,
It's
give us
there.
everything we need.
Yeah.
And we don't want it anymore.
Now we've just like everything, including the Word, we've twisted it.
Yeah.
And added to it and taken away and made it what we wanted it to make.
Yeah.
And the end of that is destruction. What did Jesus preach the whole time?
We're like, I don't want fish, Jesus. I want a Snickers and almond bar.
Yeah. It tastes so good.
I mean, and
I don't want my wife. I want my wife and this thing on the side because it feels so good.
I'm telling you, Daniel, the Word lays it out. And what happened is he said he wasn't going to do this. Well, Ashpenaz, the Lord had made him have favor in his eyes. And Daniel goes to him and makes a deal. He's like, dude, let us eat our food. Just bring me vegetables and good water, and I'm going to eat that. And he's like, test me. He's like, after 10 days, look at my guys and look at your guys, and let's see who looks better. Mm-hmm. So right here, you got a biblical test. And I'm telling y'all, eat this plant-based whole food diet for 10 days and compare yourself with what you look like 10 days before. You're going to see a massive change your lifestyle based on those results.
Look how fast 10 days goes by till you think, wow, 10 days. But then, it's June. Today's the first day of June, man. Yeah. We've already been through 6 months of this year. And we've only got 6 months left.
That's right. And if you did
2016 it's way more than 10 days we've been through.
And Daniel, if we did this for the rest of the year, in 6 months, we would see such a change.
Oh, man.
But you're going to have the discipline to, first of all, believe that it's true.
Which He can give.
And then to do it.
Yeah. If
we were talking about that,
If you have Him in your life, He'll do that for you.
Yeah.
He'll give you, man gets what man wants.
Ask Him for the
motivation.
motivation.
And if you want Christ and say, yes, for all the good things, He wants good things.
That's right.
First 6 days, it is good, it is good, it is good, it is good. He just wants good for us.
Yeah.
That's all He wants. But He also gives us that decision to where, we're going to get what we want. And the end result is what we ask for.
And this is a main point in this story, too. What this story is showing is you can be in the world, but not of it. Mm-hmm. See, there is a line to draw. I'm not saying you can't work a job and do these things. But when it comes up and your faith is tested in your morality, you don't cross that line, even if you lose the job, even if whatever. You're like, no, I've learned your literature, I've done your stuff, but I ain't eating that. Yeah. So you're going to have to make a decision. So what happened is at Daniel 1:15 said at the end of the 10 days, they looked healthier and better nourished than any of the young men who ate the royal food. So the guard took away their choice food and wine and they were to drink and gave them vegetables instead. Okay, to these 4 young men, God gave knowledge and understanding and all kinds of literature and learning. God is not against learning. Okay, sometimes being in the South and a Christian, it's almost like people want you to stay ignorant. It's like if you try and get smart, oh, you try and be smart. I grew up in the South. Okay, I've felt this my whole life. You try and do, but what do you try and be? Will you try and get smart or something? No, I'm just trying not to be a doofus. I mean, so God gives you this stuff. But see, what we see in this story is Daniel didn't cross that line. He held that Ashpenaz, let him eat it, and they saw that this was a better diet. So there's so many layers in this story here of you can be in the world but not of it. But the Lord lays out a diet right here, a plan, a discipline of eating. Now, I'm not saying that we can't eat meat because he told Peter, get up, kill, and eat. But this is the thing, okay? Get up, kill, and eat. Okay, those things were linked. You get up, you kill it, and then you eat it. What I'm saying is, you wouldn't eat that much meat if you had to kill it.
That's right.
How do I know? Because I don't like killing stuff, and if I have to kill it to eat it, I don't eat that much meat.
Yeah.
Once again, small is beautiful. Homestead, we're not made to have an industrial complex that goes and murders a bunch of animals
Every
at
day.
once and then feed. You're supposed to raise that animal, care for it, and when it's time for it to go, you kill it, honor it, and eat it.
Slaughterhouse.
If you did, you wouldn't be fat from eating meat.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, so
everything's at our fingertips.
I'm not saying that we can't eat meat because God says, get up, kill, and eat. So he said that that's on the menu now. And Peter was freaked out, was like, well, I can't believe that you changed it. He was like, well, I did. So that's the reason why we're eating meat now. But it is not right to have an industrial complex that feeds us this stuff. You see, you have no connection with it. They're harming this stuff. And if you watch that video, this is what's happening to us. Foie gras is like a duck liver that's a real delicacy or whatever. A lot of y'all know that. To make foie gras, they feed ducks sugar water, and it makes their liver fatty and basically kills them. And then we eat that. It's yummy. Tastes good. Okay, right now, we're human foie gras. You drink sodas, you take in sugar. Sugar's poison. We weren't made to take it in. It's the food of the world. God didn't make it. It's a processed, refined food.
It tastes good, so we buy it.
Sweet, just like let's make the word sweet. Let's make a lot of activities. Let's get let's have daycare. We'll draw them in. What kind of music they like now? Let's get a hipster up there wearing some dark frame glasses.
They don't like the old hymns
skinny
no
jeans.
Yeah.
And they'll come in. So let's
Got to get a guitar player. Got to get a drummer. They just don't like these old hymns anymore.
Right. You know. And it's nuts, man. It's just feed them the sugar water.
Yeah. Draw them in.
Hey, he's got a whole food, plant-based diet that is going to hurt your jaws to chew. But it's going to sustain you and give you substance. It's going to change your life. But we have to change our lifestyle. Because what you're going to find is this. You say, well, I do want a plant-based food diet. I want whole foods. Then you start to try and find them. You can't buy it. So that you're going to have to do it yourself. You're going to have to plant a garden. It doesn't matter how small it is. It starts somewhere. You're going to have to plant a garden to get good food. You ain't going to be able to find it. You're not going to be, you go to the grocery store, want to start eating, the stuff you buy is dead. It gives you no nutrient. So you're going to have to do this stuff yourself, just like the Word. Yeah. You want the Word, you start looking, you go to the supermarkets, the church buildings, you're like, this is nothing but cheese puffs. Gosh, I guess I'm going to have to do this myself.
Easy greasy.
I'm going to have to grow a garden.
I'm going to have to read. I'm going to have that relationship with Christ.
I'm going to have to work.
I'm going to have to work to having that relationship with Christ. Don't you have to work to have that relationship with your wife? Or any relationship you have to have. Any relationship you have to work at it. How come we don't strive for that relationship with Christ?
Because he just forgives me.
Yeah.
Everybody,
well, I mean, it's just what we've been, they're feeding it, so we eat it. We do have that relationship as long as we spend 1 hour or an hour and a half or maybe even 2 hours on Sunday with him. That's the relationship.
It's cotton candy.
It is. Just like drive-through at the fast food.
Yeah.
It's easy, it's simple, in and out, and I can get back to what I want to do.
But Daniel, isn't this the issue? For us to stop eating that, we have to admit that it's wrong, that it's not good. Right now, we're not admitting that that food's wrong. Just like the word, we're not admitting that the junk food Jesus is wrong. Well, hey, it's okay. It's nourishment. It is not nourishment.
But Brad, I work out and I'm dedicated. I show up even on Thursdays for choir practice and sometimes on Tuesdays if we got a revival next week. I'm a dedicated person. I've been doing that for years.
Let's inspect the fruit. I'll pull up my shirt and let's look at where my stomach's at today, and you pull up yours.
I'm just saying, are we called to sing? I don't anywhere in the Bible I don't know. I have never found anywhere in the Bible where anybody's called to sing. I know that's a gift.
Well, I mean, he's
and
talking about
talents.
Like he said, sing songs to the Lord in your heart, like you,
everybody,
express this.
Jesus says, "Go and preach to the world."
Yeah, man. He doesn't call and say, "Let's have a Christian sonata, and we're gonna play a jamboree." I mean, he doesn't do it. So you're right about that.
That's just the thing that is just I don't know.
But look, man,
you got to be careful and read the word.
I'm not perfect. I'll pull up my shirt, and I still got some work to do. But see, if we're not willing to, and this is an allegory, but we have to be real with who we are and see ourselves for who we are, instead of comparing ourselves with the world. I mean, and the world will show it to you, man. Even one of my favorite shows right now that I've watched is that Fixer Upper. I like those two people a lot. They seem like really cool people.
Yeah.
Well, dude's always showing his gut. He's my age. If you're 40 and you're like, well, I like Chip and he's got a gut, so I'm okay, it's desensitizing you that that's okay. Dude don't like having that gut. He's just doing what we do.
Yeah.
So don't accept it. Don't say, well, Chip's got a gut. It's okay that I do. Does Jesus have a gut? Did Daniel have one? Are we acknowledging that is like, if you're like, I'm down on the homosexual. If you say I'm down on the homosexual and you're obese, it's no different. And I know that's shocking. It shocked the heck out of me when I saw all the sins that God puts in the same category.
Well, if you're addicted to sugar, I mean, how do you put down a drug addict?
It's the same thing, brother.
Or an alcoholic.
It's the same thing.
We've all got struggles, and we all have to work through this, and we all need encouragement from each other instead of putting each other down.
What you're going to see when you read the Bible
we need Christ.
Every single one of us has a big issue.
And are we teaching Christ to these people, or are we just singing to them, inviting them to a building?
I know, man.
Just come to the building, you'll be set free.
I know.
No. Come to Christ. Really come to Christ, and you'll be set free.
That's right.
You come to the building, you might last a month, and then they're out the door. One maybe might come to Christ. Maybe. Really, though? I mean, you got to stay in the Word? Are you doing what Christ says?
I mean, if we're
in the Word, but I go to church, I go to the building.
If we're real followers of Christ, we have to walk away from that. Just like we do the cheeseburgers and what they're selling is no different than Wendy's.
You got to get into church, real church.
Yeah.
You got to get into church. I invite you to Christ, and then you will seek a church.
Church buildings.
He will bring people into your life that are real.
They're fast food.
Yeah. He will bring people. If you're really seeking after him, he will bring people into your life, and then you'll have church with those people.
Yeah.
You'll have church with real people that are really in the Word, and then when you talk about the Word, they'll know the Word that you're talking about, and they'll learn from you, and you learn from them, and you are members of one body. He's the head, and you do stuff because he's doing it through you. You're not just make-believing stuff up. You're not just, well, let's get this together, so we got to raise money to do it.
Yeah.
Jesus is broke, so we got to get together, raise a bunch of stinking money to go do this for our children.
Excuse me.
To do this for our children.
Yeah.
Or to do this for anything. You got to raise the money because Jesus is not going to do raising the money.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And man, It is fast
What really
food.
blows my mind is what you had said that one time, and I'd never thought about it before. But we have people that need our help, that are brought into our lives. But we have people that need help, and we will get, as men and women, we will get together, and we'll put on a feeding, so they'll come to the feeding and buy something for their belly, and we'll give the proceeds and the profit that we make from that feeding to the person that needs help. Instead of just giving the straight money to the person that has been brought into our lives, like Christ would just give the money to the person. You have to go get your belly full in order to support somebody. So let's have a poor man's supper for this guy in order to raise money for him, or a yard sale, or all this stuff, so people can come get their bellies full, sit around and talk about the illness of this person and everything else they want to gossip about, and spend their money to get their fat bellies full, and then they get a little bit of the proceeds off of it. Well, if they got the entire $7 or $5 for that meal instead of the $2, because you got to buy the pinto beans and all this other crap to go in the meal.
And check this out, Daniel.
But we feel good about it because we went to the supper.
Sure. And if at that supper,
the beans were a little salty.
If they are feeding food that is not of God, it's no different than if they're giving you doses of crack cocaine. It's no different. So you say at your church building you wouldn't give doses of crack cocaine, then why are you feeding this worldly food that's killing people? Why are you going and getting the leftovers from the grocery stores that throw away all of their sugar goods, all of their cakes and pies, and you're taking that and giving it to poor people, and you're acting like you're doing something good? You're killing them. You might as well just take them a vial of crack cocaine. I'm telling you, it's the truth. And this is the thing. This is what we need to be preaching in the church, in the real church, is somebody comes in there and says, well, I'm against the homosexual. We don't let them in here. Well, then you ain't allowed in here. Why? Because you got a waist over 40. You're obese. That's a sin, no different. What we need to do, well, you saying a homosexual is okay? It ain't a sin? No, of course it's a sin. Of course it's a sin. And we have to fight it. Yours is a sin too, and every single thing that he said in there is a sin. And what you realize as a church body and as a church person is you realize that the sin that you see in other people, you have it in you. So then you just join together to fight the sin. You don't change it and say, well, that's not a sin. Okay, you might not be a homosexual, but you struggle with gluttony. Well, then you're just going to encourage the homosexual to fight the homosexuality in his life, and you're going to fight the gluttony in your life.
Or anything else.
Or any sin that you could imagine.
I've heard so many people talk about homosexuality, and they're living with their girlfriend, and they have a baby.
Course, sure. Tit for tat, bro. I mean, all of this is the same. But you can't, the Bible does say it's a sin. It doesn't, we all have sin.
We all.
But we have to fight against it.
That's it.
And back to the evolution thing. If God had created us all to be that way, then we wouldn't exist. It's to Immanuel Kant's categorical imperative. How do you know if an action is just? It's like you take lying and you say, if everybody on the planet lied, then there would be no truth. So lying cannot be a just action to take. So that's the categorical imperative. That's just a worldly way to do it. The Bible says what it is. But if you look at that one instance and say, well, God made everyone to be like this, it's okay. Well, then there would be no humans on the planet. It takes a male and a female to reproduce. So that couldn't be the way that God meant it to be, period, even though I know that he tells me that, because if that's the way we do that, well, we wouldn't exist.
Yep.
So there's certain things like that, but he didn't make you to eat too much either. Well, I got a hard time. Well, the homosexual may have a hard time in their life. It may take them their whole life to fight that sin or whatever. I mean, you're just going to disclude them as long as they're fighting against it and they acknowledge it as a sin. Well, are you acknowledging that gluttony is a sin, that pride is a sin, that greed is a sin, that your love of money is a sin? So that's what I'm trying to say. Is we have to look at sin as sin, and that's why I'm against the church establishment, because it's political and they've turned it into grading sin, and we like these sins and we don't like these, and it's just ridiculous.
Yep.
And it breaks my heart. And he's got the truth sitting there right for us all, man. You know, and it's going to take us to do it, not anyone else to do it. You do it. You be it. Don't wait for the government to change the laws on food so you don't eat it. If you're not smart enough to understand what you need to eat, well, then you deserve what you're going to get. And it's the same with all this stuff. But we live in a culture that, man, grades as sin, and Christians picking all these people apart, and you're just the same. I'm just the same. I got issues. We're all working on them.
And I got some issues.
But we can't change the definition of sin.
That's it. Bottom line.
Bottom line.
Bottom line.
And that's it. That's man. The big sins that weird people do, and that's you eating too much stuff.
Yep. Food crack.
But I know as I say that, people don't believe that it's the same in God's eyes. I promise you it is. I promise you that the Bible, the Word of God, it says it's the same in His eyes. So when you get to heaven, I never sexually defied myself. He's like, you defied yourself every day through what you ate, and I told you that. And you never confessed it to me because you compared yourself with everyone else and you thought it was okay. It's not okay.
No.
So I know I got a lot of passion for that, but it's something He's really pouring on me. Go back and read Daniel. God really cares about what we eat.
He does. I mean, look at the Israelites. I mean, all that stuff is for us. It's not a law unto us, but it is a learn
truth,
by. It's truth to
we
go
either
by.
Do it or don't.
Yeah, we either learn from it or we don't, or we
Yeah.
just don't care.
Yeah.
And we've had that conversation over and over. I mean, it's what we've preached for 34 episodes.
Seriously, if God didn't make it, you probably shouldn't eat it.
Really?
I mean,
really?
Not even
is it
probably.
just-
Don't.
What's that you said the whole show? Do you have a brain?
Right.
I mean, I've had to ask myself that a bunch of times
Me
because the
too,
stuff
man.
tastes good.
Me too.
Sin tastes good.
I love
Food
like,
tastes good.
I love
bad
noodles and stuff like that.
Food.
Man,
Yeah, we
I
all
mean,
about some bad. We
You
loving
know.
some bad. Flesh loves the bad.
But dude,
But there comes a point in our life to where we have to wake up. Because what are we leading ourselves to? It's the broad way, man. It's the broad way.
It is, man.
And not only in the food, but also in our spiritual, our real life. Our real life. We're responsible for these bodies.
Yeah.
It's what we have right now. It's the temple of the Holy Spirit.
That's right.
Read the Word. Get up on into it. And we're all growing together, and we're just here to...
Yeah, we're no better.
We're
but
here to encourage.
We're heralding for
We
the
want
truth.
you to look. Want you to look at it. And,
man.
you know, I need it too. I'm looking. I'm just directing this stuff right here. The Bible says,
Me
"Examine
too.
yourselves," and I do that all the time, every day, and I fail so often, more than often. And
I
I'm
agree,
like,
man.
but there comes a point to where it's like you got to get the discipline. You got to get the. I don't have the willpower. I don't have the discipline. Do you have Jesus Christ? Yeah.
Then you got it.
Then you got it. You can get it.
That's right.
Simply ask. Simply. How simple is it just to ask?
That's right.
He's made it so simple and we got it so complicated. I just can't do that. Yeah, you can't. You're right on that.
That's
Hey,
right.
that's the first
Hey,
step.
you're
You can't
awesome.
do that.
Yeah. Now you can accept that He already has.
And He can.
And He will.
And He will.
You
Praise
know,
God.
What was that? We used to sing this song, man, and back in the day. Can he, could he, would he? Yes, he can, he could, he would, and he did.
That's it.
You know.
That's it. And
So-
He will.
And you will see the change. Like, I haven't eaten any sugar in 2 weeks, and I can see a huge difference just eating stuff out of my garden, you know, and I'm not going back, man. Before, I would kind of straddle the line between I eat all the garden food and then, you know,
Yeah.
say, well,
Half and
I've
half.
done all this great, so now I deserve some, you
Treat.
know, some debauchery, some food that's not good for me.
Yeah.
And now I can't eat it, man. After you don't taste it, it tastes kind of repulsive, just like the word.
Yeah.
When you get that whole word, you don't want the cheese puff word anymore.
No. It'll make you sick.
It will make you sick.
I guess I hadn't drunk a soft drink, and I've had one or two in the last year, but I haven't, like 7 or 8
Awesome.
years, just
Me
water,
too.
water, straight
Yeah,
water.
I don't-
Longer than that. I think
Me too.
2001, 3. Just water. And so when I drink a drink, man, I mean, I get like the shakes, and it
Sure.
just, the taste is, I can't drink a drink. I mean, I have to take like a sip, and, you know, I have to eat it with something. I just can't drink a drink. It's bleh.
Yeah.
And that's gotten, if you were into the Word and you go to somewhere that's just off from the word, it's God, you just can't take it.
That's right.
And so I mean, it's really, we can sit here and say, well, you got to get away from it. If you're in the word, you will get away from it.
You will.
Because you don't want to taste it. You don't want the feel. You don't want the taste. You don't want the bull crap.
Yeah.
I'm done with the bull crap. I'm ready to move on with God and what He has for me.
I
and
agree.
It's always good.
It is. And we just fight the sin. No one's perfect. You sitting there saying, oh, because you're eating good, you think you're like Daniel, you're better than me. Look, when I get off the air, I'm going to put a big wad of tobacco in my face. And I know it's a sin and it's not right. And I'm fighting against it, okay? I'm not perfect. But see, we have to actually acknowledge it, work on it. If we don't, then we're toast. So that's all, man. Let's just work on it. You're going to feel better. We're going to get in the Word. Let's just do it. I mean, back to the beginning. Just do it.
Just do it.
How you doing?
How you doing? Just do it. It's so simple.
How you doing?
It's so simple, and it's so hard, and it's so simple, and it's so hard. I mean, it's simple, but it's hard for us in the flesh.
Man, it is.
But it's so simple if you have that relationship with Him and allow Him to work in your life. All this would just be revealed to you, and it'd be a constant working, and just you feel better, and I mean, it just, the hope, peace, everything is good with Him. Everything is good, and you can just overcome everything that's thrown at you. But it's hard, but it's simple.
It is.
I mean, I don't know how to explain it until you're living the life, until you have that relationship with Him. If you have that relationship with Him now, you know exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah.
If you don't have the relationship, you're just like, what? But I mean, it's life. It's real, true life. Jesus said He's the life, the truth, and the way.
There is a truth.
And so there's the truth, there's the way. We forget the life part.
We do.
And it's now, and it's forever.
That's right.
Man, I'm telling you, it's just...
and don't you think it all starts with this one question? We've been joking around with how you doing, but ask yourself that question. You, honestly, how am I doing? How am I doing on all the areas? Like on the way I'm eating, how am I doing? How am I doing on my wife, my relationship? How am I doing? I mean, how am I doing on, my word? How am I doing? I mean, but just do that inventory today on everything and ask yourself, hey,
how am I doing?
And you might be like, I'm doing okay.
I'm doing okay.
I'm doing.
I'm trying.
I'm doing.
Hey, I'm trying.
I'm
not just don't care.
That's
I'm
right.
trying.
At least do that question.
And God sees that. I mean, He sees everything.
That's right.
You just don't care. You can have that. Man gets what man wants. I'm going to live by that saying because that's my life, man.
Me too.
I've always gotten what I've always wanted.
Yep.
And I'm telling you what, I'm reaping, I'm sowing, I'm eating what I'm sowing, what I'm reaping.
Sure.
I'm reaping what I'm sowing. Is that right?
That's right.
Yeah.
But check out, man, I ain't going to go out to the garden and pick us lunch. When I go out there won't be no honey buns growing.
Honey buns on a
God
on
didn't
a leaf,
grow that.
on a tree.
There won't be no King Dons. That used to be one of my favorite.
Hot dog on a tree.
Did you ever have a King Don?
I ain't never heard no King
Now, dude,
Don. What is a King
you
Don?
remember the cupcakes? Like, I like eating bad like everyone else, but I can't. Like the Hostess cupcakes that are like, they're chocolate and they have that icing on the top with the white thing down the middle.
Yeah.
Okay, the King Don is that, but the whole thing is dipped in the whole chocolate icing that's on the top of that muffin. That thing is covered the whole thing.
Wow. That is a King Don.
And you have 2 layers of the white, whatever it is, like puff stuff in the middle. Dude, I used to could devour some King Dons and Ho-Hos.
Wow, I bet. Me too.
No more.
Yeah.
No mas. No mas.
And I like what you said. You said, I can't. We got to remember, it's I choose not to.
That's
right.
Hey,
I can.
That's right.
But I choose not to. Because there's so many times I walked around and, hey, you want to, let's go get a Subway and get some bread or whatever. I can't. Then I heard that.
Yes.
I choose not to.
That's exactly
right.
right.
Hey, I can. Man, I'm break on out. I'll eat it up. Let's go
Daniel.
get extra large pizza.
That's right.
I can.
Just like
but I
Daniel.
choose not to. That's it.
He said, I could fit in, but he's like, I'm not going to defile myself with the King's table.
I choose not to.
So let's get back to the diet of Daniel.
That's it.
First Daniel, read it, and it'll inspire you. It sure does me.
I like this right here. This is in 1 Corinthians.
Yeah, man.
It says, let a person examine himself then, and so eat of the bread and drink of the cup. For anyone who eats and drinks without discerning the body eats and drinks judgment on himself. That is why many of you are weak and ill, and some have died. But if we judged ourselves truly, we would not be judged. But when we are judged by the Lord, we are disciplined, so that we may not be condemned along with the world.
Perfectamundo.
That's it. We are disciplined, so that when we are judged by the Lord, we are disciplined, so that we may not be condemned along with the world.
Enough said, man. That's perfect.
That's it. There we go.
Praise
the Lord.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Enjoyed it, man.
Same here.
Look forward to more. And I mean, we really are passionate about this food word thing. So, but what was the Bible verse that you just, can you say those call letters again? Because that was one of the most powerful.
That is
things.
1 Corinthians 12:28 through
Awesome.
32.
1 Corinthians 12:28.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep.
Thanks, man.
That's it. Right on, brother.
Good stuff.
Praise the Lord.
We'll see y'all.